Hello, good morning. My name is Laverne Joseph, and you're watching CCC.
And CCC stands for Crucian Cultural Cuisine, right?
Yes.
Correct.
And who are you?
My name is Dwayne Howell.
Welcome, Wayne. And we're here to demonstrate the wonderful making of sweet bread. Our chef is no other than Mr. Howell.
Dwayne. Yes. So today we're gonna do a sweetbread demonstration. For the most part, the ingredients are there. So we need butter, we need shortening.
Okay, Dwayne, you need to show the audience what are you talking about? What is what is what?
Okay.
So that they can know.
So we use butter and we use shortening, and you're gonna use an equal amount of butter and shortening, whatever that. Of course, it depends on how much sweetbread you're making, depends on the quantity. But the important thing is that you're gonna use an equal sharing. So if you use a pound of butter, use a pound of shortening. Today we're using just a little less than a half a pound of each, right? So this is just for just the display. And you need sugar, right? Mm-hmm. And so you have to cream the butter, you have to cream the sugar, right? And with sweetbread is a manual affair. There's no mixer involved in making sweetbread. People who make traditional sweetbread don't use mixers. Okay. You have to use your hand.
Okay, before you go any further, can you give us a little history about where sweetbread came about and why do we make sweetbread during the Christmas holiday? Can we make sweetbread, say, in February, March? What is the tradition, or what, why do we do it during this festive
You can make
time?
sweetbread whenever you want. Sweetbread is, for some people make sweetbread for special occasions. They don't tie it to Thanksgiving or Christmas. But traditionally, it's a Christmas savory item, right? So people would, on Christmas Day, eat sweetbread with ham, right? And they may never eat sweetbread again until next Christmas. Sweetbread, as you will find sweetbread throughout Europe, throughout the Caribbean, with variations. So from region to region, a sweetbread would be different, right? So okay. In Christmas time, it's just from region to region. People adopt other people's tradition, and then you make it your own tradition, right? So it's not a tradition unique to the Virgin Islands. It's almost, you could say, a global tradition, probably from the European influences and their reaches globally, right?
So who taught you to make sweetbread?
My cousin Eleanor Phillips taught me to make sweetbread, actually. And my first recipe, actually, I got from Miss Anna Oliver. And then I would help my cousin Eleanor Phillips make sweetbread.
Okay, right? Great. So are you teaching any younger person or the youths how to make sweetbread, or you just keeping that secret?
No, I don't. I share knowledge.
Okay.
Obviously, if I didn't share knowledge, I wouldn't be here with you.
Okay.
Right?
Right. So right. Okay, but do you do measurements?
Actually, right now, this year I taught Sakaija Williams. So he's learning. So He's starting to learn to make sweetbread actually.
Okay. I have another question because a lot of times we don't do measurements, but in making sweetbread you have to use measurement because sometimes they tell you, oh, a dash of that, a dash of this, or a spoon of this, a spoon of that. So, but in making sweetbread you have to have a measurement.
Well, with everything you have a measurement. Your measurement may not be a traditional, a cup of this, a teaspoon of that, but some people actually traditionally only use the palm of their hand, and that is the measurement that they use. So they may use maybe four flours, right? So this may be their measurement. So we do use measurement, but in terms, the problem is translating the measurement for somebody to follow. Sometimes is the problem. You may not be able to say, well, you know what? Use 3 teaspoons of cinnamon and stuff like that. As you saw that I told you, use equal portions of butter and shortening when we started.
I sure did.
But because that's easy, and the way that I'm going to tell you the ingredients, it will be in that manner. Right?
Okay.
So, but we're gonna only make probably less, maybe about 3 pounds of flour.
Okay, and that will make how many loaves?
If we do like the small, if we do small pans, right here. Maybe if we use small loaf pans like this, we probably could get 4 or 5.
Okay.
Because remember, this will raise and it'll expand, so we get way more.
Okay.
Right?
So step 1 is you cream your sugar and butter and margarine.
Yeah. So everything is by hand, as I told you. So obviously I started before, because then we'll be here forever. Right?
Of course. It's a process, a long process.
This is a long process. So we cream our butter, and then we're gonna add eggs.
Are these local eggs or?
Well, local from the grocery store.
Okay. No, I just asked him because
But soon, actually, in the next 6 months.
So while you do that, I could beat, or you have to wait till?
No, you could beat.
Oh, okay.
In the next 6 months, True Farm will be producing large quantities, over 400 dozens of eggs here on St. Croix.
Oh, okay.
So
Great.
you'll start seeing that in the grocery stores.
And then you'll start making your bread from local eggs.
Yeah.
Okay.
From local free-range eggs. All right? So we'll beat that as you're doing. And then while we beat it,
how many eggs you put in here?
I put 4 eggs in there.
Okay.
Right? I put 4 eggs. Okay. And then we will start putting our spices. And so cinnamon, you're gonna put more cinnamon than any other spice.
So how much, remember?
I put 3.
What's that, tablespoon?
Yeah. And allspice, you're gonna put an equal sharing of allspice. And then the other spices you're gonna use is going to be 1/3 of these. Okay, so 1 tablespoon only, or 1 teaspoon. right? And so the spices you're gonna use clove, nutmeg, mace, cardamom, and orange peel. Now, be very careful with cardamom. Cardamom actually put probably half of everything else, okay?
Why?
Because it could be bitter.
Oh, it's
so
strong.
it could give you a bitter feeling. But there was one step that we didn't talk about, and that was our yeast mixture. This actually is the first thing that we actually do, because we need to let this yeast rise. So with the yeast, you just, if you do the packet, 1 packet to, let's say, a cup of flour, some sugar, and just beat it up and put it on the side.
So that's yeast?
This is yeast.
Yeast and sugar?
This is, yeast, flour, and sugar.
Yeast, flour.
Right? Then we need essence, and we're gonna use vanilla essence.
How much is that? You're doing?
I'm not sure how much. Put maybe a quarter cup
Okay.
each, right? A quarter cup each. And that you could play around with a little bit, right? Then we're gonna use, we're gonna put in our milk.
How much?
And we're gonna start with 1 can of milk.
Any special brand?
Canned milk, evaporated milk,
Okay.
right?
1 can. That's what we're starting out with.
That's what we're gonna start out with. With this mixture that we're doing for this half, this 3-4 pounds of flour, we probably would end up using maybe 2 cans. Right?
Okay.
Okay. So now we're going to put in our yeast mixture. And so if you could just okay, that's good. We don't need all of it. Okay. Any questions so far, or are you good?
I good.
Okay.
All I know is a lot of work. You got to beat it.
It is a lot of work. So now I don't want you to stir anymore.
Okay.
We're gonna just put in our flour. Okay. And then we're gonna put in our fruits. So
How much?
So we're gonna put raisins, walnuts, prunes. Now, some people may have allergies to nuts, as you know.
Right.
So they may not put in any walnuts. Okay? And then we have our citrus. And again, some people may have allergies to citrus. So you may not put in any of the citrus fruits. And of course, that is non-traditional, but now, you know, people have so many different allergies
Yes.
that you can tailor the sweetbread to that person. But traditionally, these are the things
These are the ingredients
that you will
go
put in, right? With the fruits, I soak my fruits for 2 seasons.
Okay.
2 seasons mean 2 years.
Okay.
All right?
So what you soak them in?
I soak them in wine.
Okay. So what happens if a person doesn't drink wine?
You wouldn't taste. You wouldn't even know that's in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's not to intoxicate you. It's not to inebriate you. You wouldn't, it's just as added
to cure, to keep
preserve
it.
and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
Right?
So how much, is this a cup? Or 2 cups?
You asking a difficult question.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
To be honest, because I know what I am making. So now because we're giving people a recipe to follow. So let's say that with your fruits, it depends
on the
on
individual.
you.
Okay.
There's no right or wrong.
Okay.
Some people don't like sweetbread because they associate sweetbread with fruit cake, and it's fruit cake have all of this gunk in it. Well, sweetbread don't. So it don't take up the bread. Right? But you have some people who, if you're making it for yourself, then you do what you want. But we're talking traditionally.
Right.
So what we're gonna do is this is a 1/4 cup
Of each. Okay.
Okay? And then we're gonna only put a 1/2
Of
cup
fruits.
of the fruits.
Okay.
Okay? So the fruits you double the fruit. But remember, these fruits are very finely minced. They're not like the fruit cake where
Right.
they're
Chunks.
these big chunky things. Right? All right. So and the reason that we put it in the flour like that is, and we're not going to use this anymore because that can't help us anymore, is so that it don't stick in at the bottom.
Right.
Right? That's why
We put it in the flour.
we put it in the flour. Right? And then for fruits, we're only going to use 1/2. Okay? 1/2 is more than good enough, right? And then, this is a small bowl. Normally, when I make sweetbread, I make sweetbread in a big bowl. But for demonstration and so that the camera can see the process, that's why we're using this
smaller bowl. Okay.
clear bowl.
Okay.
Right? And so what do you think gives sweetbread the color? Based on what you think gives the color?
All these spices.
The spices is what gives sweetbread the color. And again, depending on how rich your spice is, your color of your sweetbread will be different. That's just the reality.
Oh, okay.
If the quality of your spice makes a big difference in the quality of the sweetbread, as well as the richness, the taste, the color. All right, that's what
Interesting.
That's what gives. That's what gives
A nice color.
the color. Yeah. All right. So remember, this is not a. Now, of course, in industrial settings, people will use a mixed mixer, right? But even if I'm doing, like, I could do 25 pounds of flour one time. and I do it by hand.
Oh, okay.
I don't use a mixer.
Okay.
I do it by hand because that's how I learned.
Learn how to do it.
How to do sweetbread. And I learned, so like this is very strange for me because I learned to do sweetbread in large
quantities.
Right? So like the minimum sweetbread, you know, the cake pan with the hole.
Yeah.
How I learned sweetbread is to fill about 12 pans of those.
One time,
and that's by hand. So you're talking about a big tub, right? So you don't need a mixer, and
I would need a mixer.
Why?
That's a lot of story.
Is a lot?
You know, we have become so modernized that you just show everything.
Technology.
Yes. But if I have to do it like this, I sure would do it like this. To get that, that feeling and to get that real nice texture.
Right, and as I told you, for this mix, we will end up using about 2 cans of milk. Right? And for me, I'm going to put a little more essence in this.
What's that, vanilla?
This is vanilla, yeah. And the reason is because I expect a certain smell as well.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Not a vanilla essence smell, but all these things with your spices. As you do these things, what
to expect and what to
expect, because they all give a very unique, once you mix everything, it gives a very unique
smell.
Now I'll tell you that this is a little difficult doing it in this small bowl, but it's not impossible. It's best to have
a bigger bowl.
A bigger bowl. And the reason is because we don't want to, like now we're conscious about making mess and stuff like that. But in a big bowl, you have more room, right? And you have more surface area to actually mix the flour together, right? And then, so you hear the air is coming out. So now that tells me that I have enough milk. I don't need any more milk.
Okay, great.
Right?
So when you hear that air, that's the key that you don't need any more milk.
Yeah, I don't need any more milk. I mean, if I wanted to thin it just a little bit, I can. But and so you gotta use a wood spoon. If you use a pot spoon, you're gonna kill your hand. The metal is going to kill your hand. Right? And so now I know I use, I don't know what this thing is called, the rubber spoon that cleans everything. I don't know what you call it, but when this is how I check to see if my mix is good. You see how you see how it stays smooth now?
Smooth, yeah, and it doesn't stick.
Okay, so
it's ready.
That tells me that this now we'll put on the side, right? And we will let that raise, and it will, this is the same mixture, believe it or not. But as it sits, what do you notice?
The color change and it gets thicker.
The color change. And you see how shiny it is, and you see how dark and rich it is. Yeah, right?
Yep.
So we let the mixture sit. I usually let my mixture sit for a minimum of 6 hours, right? Typically, I like making sweetbread at night, mixing it up at night, like as late as possible, 9, 10 o'clock. And then like at 5 o'clock, I will get up and bake it. For baking, I like to bake sweetbread at a low temperature. Some people bake it at a normal 350.
So what you bake it at?
I like to bake it at like 265 and just let it stay a little longer.
For how much hours?
It depends, like 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
Okay.
It depends. You just have to check it. But when the sweetbread is ready, you know it's ready, right? You smell it. So then you could do, if you're doing small portions, right? You could do 2 things. You could, once you're finished with your mixture, you could put it in your pan and let it rise in your pan. I don't like to do that.
Okay.
I rather let it sit.
And it rise in the bowl.
Right? And then I let it rise in a bowl. Right? And then I put it in the pan, and then I let it rise again in the pan.
Okay.
Right? And then when it's finished,
where you find that product? All right. Okay.
All right. So when it's finished, what I do is I wet the bread with wine.
Oh, okay. And let it soak for how long?
I do it once I take it out of the oven, I immediately wet it.
Okay.
Not douse it, I just wet it.
Okay.
Right, and then I take it out of the pan and I put it on racks and I wet the top and I wet the bottom. And that helps to keep the bread moist. As well.
Okay.
Right? Any questions?
No, it looks delicious. Yum. Okay. So these are great. This is the finish.
Yeah.
This is the finished product.
Yeah, so that's one that we did.
And so when the finished product, you eat it with your ham.
If you eat ham. I don't eat ham.
Neither do I.
I don't eat sweetbread, actually.
Oh.
I don't eat sweetbread.
Oh.
I don't eat sweetbread because there's egg and I don't eat animal products.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So like
and I don't eat sweets either. So
Okay.
for me, I don't eat it.
Okay. Say like if you want to do this for someone who doesn't eat egg, can you do the substitute egg?
I imagine that you can, yeah. I imagine that you can.
Okay.
Because that substitute egg has the same properties as real egg.
Okay.
It's no different if you're doing that.
And if you don't use white sugar and you want to use brown sugar, can you substitute the sugar?
If you want. Yeah, if you want.
So, Mr. Howell, how important it is for us to continue to keep our local tradition in cooking alive?
Well, I mean, if we don't keep our traditions alive, obviously, we're gonna lose them. And that's something that's happening right now, which is a sad thing. But it's important because it's part of our identity. It's is a fiber, an important fiber in our society is our foods. Even the way that we prepare certain foods is important, not to become gourmet. We should stick to the tradition of certain things that we make, even in using the oven. Like sometimes I actually use this oven here to bake sweetbread.
Oh, okay.
Right? And it's harder because you have to know how to regulate the temperature. But is exciting and challenging at the same time. But it's exciting that you could make your sweetbread, put it here in this stone oven, and it comes out as it should be. And the taste is different.
Because that's a question I was going to ask you, that in my grandparents' days, that when they did sweetbread, they didn't have an electric oven nor a gas oven. So I was wondering, would it be a great difference between, but you just said it, putting it outside in one of these stone oven compared to putting it in a conventional oven right now?
But remember now, the average person can't light and maintain
one of these,
including me. It takes me a long time. I struggle to keep it light, but I can light it, but I don't have the practice. And that's when we talk about importance of tradition. Those are things that we're losing.
Right.
Even believe it or not, even in lighting the stove or coal pot. Obviously, this is like a coal pot, not a portable coal pot. But if you to start a fire, maintain a fire for cooking, the average person just can't do it, and we have lost those traditions, and it's sad. And while culture is dynamic, culture is still foundational. Right? So culture will always be dynamic. We get that. We know that. But there are things that should move from generation to generation, and unfortunately, we're losing a lot of the things. Now, one last thing is, like, when I'm done and I have dough left over, I will harden the dough. So I will take flour and I will make a bread dough, and I will harden that, and I just put it in loaf where you just slice it and eat it with like a tea, and then I bake it so that it becomes very hard. That's what I do with my leftover dough.
Oh, that's great. That's a great idea.
And then some people make sweetbread different. So some people make sweetbread in that manner where that the dough is very stiff and very hard. Right? So there's variations to, because even people who's going to watch this program, they'll say, well, I don't do that.
Right.
That's not how you do it.
Right.
Because we all, even here on St. Croix, from estate to estate to estate,
did it differently.
Culture, believe it or not, had some variations. Right?
Because like how I might do it in Estate LaGrange, somebody over in Cotton Valley or somewhere might do it completely different to us.
Correct.
Understanding.
Right? So,
thank you for the education on how to make sweetbread. I never tried making sweetbread, but I will try.
Well, you should.
I'm gonna try.
You try, and I mean, it's completely.
I'll try and let you know how it come out.
As long as you like it. That's the important thing. As long as when you bite on it, you don't spit it out and say, oh my God, what is this?
Well, even if I try and I spit it out, I say, okay, the next step, I know what I have to add.
Because
I have
that's
to add more of this, more of that, a dash of this, a dash of that, more of so. And then by the time I'm finished, I might get it perfect. Don't tap to where I need it to be.
Right. And that's the learning process. Right. So it's a learning process, and we all, learning is every day. It's as we live, we learn. Right? We make adjustments and we do whatever we have to do.
Well, we want to thank you very much for this demonstration that you have given to us.
No problem.
Keep the culture going.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks.